I am finally free from the shackles of finals week. I am a pretty little dove flying away from the cage that is big school. But to get to this point, I almost paid the ultimate price. Kinda. Not really. I'm being dramatic. But let me tell you the story. So I had a final scheduled from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., which, by the way, isn't that egregious and heinous and should be illegal? That's terrible. But whatever. I wasn't complaining. I was actually complaining about it a lot. But at this point, I just wanted it to be over. So it's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I figure I should leave a little bit early because, I gotta get to campus, and then I kind of wanted to do a little preparing on campus beforehand, review the material and whatever. So I go outside, I put on my motorcycle gear and I check out my motorcycle, do a little pre-ride inspection, and I realize it has a small case of a 100% complete flat tire. So naturally, I did what any other responsible citizen would do, and I rode it anyway. Because, what else am I gonna do, really? Like, I have a final, I'm not just gonna skip it, because I would like to pass my classes, please. So, I'm on my motorcycle, I'm riding, and I'm at one with the road. I say this because I feel every single bump. I feel every crack. If there's a pebble, I'm the first one to know about it, okay? I'm not having a good time. And I realize maybe I should be riding on not a flat tire. I see a gas station on my left, and I slow down to turn in, and I'm getting a good look at this place. And first off, the prices are kind of insane, but luckily I'm not there for gas. And it's also like this kind of run-down place. Like, I would buy drugs here, or I would get shot here. Maybe I will do both of those things there at one point, but today was not that day. I just wanted some air from my tire. And I don't actually buy drugs. I don't do that. I'm joking. Yeah, but I go to the tire fill up thing, and I put in my 8 quarters that I have on me. And I realize it's not actually doing anything, which is very unfortunate because I kind of need air in my tire now. And I guess I just go inside. I'm like, I look for the employee. I see him. I'm like, hey, here's my deal. And I tell him the whole sob story. I do the works. He hears it all. And this guy, he kind of just sits there for a moment silently. He looks me in the eyes, and he starts speaking in Spanish. Now, for a layman, this is terrible news because they don't speak Spanish. But I am no layman. See, what this guy doesn't know is I happen to be on my way to my Spanish final, which means, I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but you certainly could. You could say I'm fluent. I'm not gonna stop you. Now, unfortunately, my fluency does end at basic conversation, so I hit this guy with a quick "Que hora es?" and I'm on my way. And still on the flat, I'm riding around looking for another gas station, and I find one. And this gas station is much nicer, I must say. It's a nicer gas station. And I fill up my tire without a hitch, and I am on my merry way. Until it does start raining. And I don't mean like the torrential downpour. It's more like a mist. It's like a misty rain that shrouds the world in fog. And that kind of freaks me out, because I don't know if you have seen the video where I almost died, but I almost died. And I didn't want that to happen again. So I'm riding like a grandma on the road. How a grandma would ride a motorcycle. You don't see many grandmas on motorcycles. I wasn't gonna roll the dice, I wanted to be safe, I wanted to be careful, and as I get closer to my campus, everything starts glowing red, and I'm freaking out a little. See, I go to the University of Georgia, which is a very big football university, number 1 in the nation, not saying I carried, but I carried. And at night, they light the stadium up with these red lights. And because I was riding in this like misty downpour, the lights was like refracting in the mist, creating this red ambient glow just everywhere around campus. And in my head I was like, well, that's definitely like foreshadowing for my inevitable demise. But I kept trucking along because I have a final to take very soon at this point. Quickly after that moment, my motorcycle starts to wobble. And I don't really know what to do in that situation, but I'm thinking, you know, motorcycles are kind of like arrows, you know, very, very aerodynamic. And if they get unstable, the best way to take care of that is actually to speed up. Unlike in a car, you want to slow down. On a motorcycle, you want to speed up to regain that balance. So I do so, and I'm catching up to this car ahead of me. And I'm thinking, well, I could go around this guy, or I could slow down and gamble on the wobble. And I'm thinking about these things, and I look at the back of this car, and I realize that's actually, in fact, a police officer, which is bad news, because what I haven't mentioned is the motorcycle that I'm riding is like a little bit unregistered and illegal, and also it doesn't have turn signals. Not that I'm aware of this, of course. This is all allegedly, you know. This is just, I'm just shooting the shit. Just joking around. Law enforcement agencies. Anyway, I'm thinking about all this stuff. But what I'm not thinking about is the red light that is in front of me, and this cop pushes on his brakes, and you know, in the nick of time I react and I hit my brakes, but because I wasn't really paying attention to the world around me, really, I brake wrong, and my bike stalls a little tiny bit, a lot bit. And if you're unfamiliar, stalling a vehicle basically just means it turns off on you. And when you stall a vehicle, you simply turn it back on and you're good to go. But this is not a normal vehicle. This is the Kai bike. And the Kai bike has some quirks. Like when you turn it off, you gotta jump start it in certain temperatures in order to get it going. And I try to start my vehicle back up, and it does not do so. And the light turns green, and I'm worried that, like, if this cop sees me freaking out, he's probably gonna want to help me, which sounds good. But here in the old United States, when a police officer helps you with anything, they still want to see your ID and registration and stuff. So the last thing I need is this cop giving me a little help when I don't need his help, you know? And as the light turns green, this cop pulls off, you know, doesn't offer me help, which is good for me, I'm glad. I mean, if it was anyone else, that would suck for them, but I'm in good hands, I guess. And I figure I should probably pull off to the side of the road and take care of this impending doom of mine. Unfortunately, the bike does not have any power running through it, and it is 500 pounds, and the road is wet. And as strong and chiseled and handsome as I am, this is still a 500-pound hunk of metal. So I'm looking like a bit of a fool trying to push this bike over to the side of the road, but I eventually do it. And I did come prepared. In my backpack, I have a little toolbox, and I've got this little jump pack set to like jumpstart vehicles, and I'm good to go. I get the bike running after a few minutes. This whole time, by the way, there's this guy in a truck just kind of like looking at me, which is like making me uncomfortable, but whatever. Not my problem. I pull off, and I wobble right on to my parking spot, and I kind of let out a breath of relief. I'm like, oh, life's so wondrous and great. But my relief does not last long, because it is in fact almost time for my final, which I did not prepare for, really. For the lack of a better term, I was raw dogging this final. I was raw dogging it. Balls deep. I don't like that. But you know what? That's the truth of the matter. So I go into this final room with my motorcycle helmet in hand and a pen, and I'm ready to go, you know, ready to rip it. And while they're passing out the finals, I'm reflecting on how I got to this moment. I mean, in the past, in high school, I never really studied for anything, to be honest. I I wouldn't say I was naturally gifted. It was more like I was raised, reading a lot of books, and over summers I would be given my own homework to study, and it's like I was always in class at home. And while I hated it at the time, it did really, really help because I ended up a much more developed person, and I think I ended up more academically capable because of it. And so in high school, when I was kind of like my own supervisor, like in high school I was kind of let loose on my own to take care of my own studying. I didn't do any. I didn't do any. And I did great in my classes. I was number 6 in the grade out of a few hundred kids. So, in my mind I was like, well, why would I need to study if I'm already doing so great? And everyone told me, in college it's going to be harder. In college it's going to be harder. You're going to have to study. And now it's college. And you know what? I'm not studying. I'm not studying. And I learned that, in fact, they were right. They were right. They were right. I definitely should have studied a lot more this semester. And as I'm sitting here waiting for my final, I'm realizing, next semester I'll study. But that's also what I thought last semester. So we'll see how that goes. But I finally get the final passed to me, and it's like I'm reading another language. Probably because I was. That's a big part of it. But I understood a lot of it, and I think I did okay on the final. I definitely passed, if nothing else. So I'm not worried about failing the class or anything. But I feel like I'm settling, with my studying. I'm kind of like settling for mediocrity. I'm like, oh, well, as long as I can pass. And that's not a mindset that I like, because I don't know, as a kid, I would always strive for excellence. I had to be number 1 in the class. I, had to be the smartest one in the room. And now it's like, if I'm doing good enough, I'm doing good enough. And I don't like that. So I think I'm gonna try to do better with my studying. Anyway, yeah, I did the final. I took the final, turned it in, said goodbye to my friends, and hopped back on my motorcycle, and I wobbled on home. No major events. No major events. I got some really good sleep, and that was the last final. So after that, I was done with the semester, and I don't know. I think next semester I will definitely do better with studying, and obviously over my Christmas break, I'm gonna figure out my motorcycle. Get some new tires. I'm thinking white walls like Lightning McQueen. But we'll see how that goes. And apparently my final grades were posted recently, and I never did look at them. Throughout all of school, I've never really looked at my final grades at any point, which might be a bad thing or might be a good thing. In my mind, ignorance is bliss. If I failed the class, I would know, because I would have to take it again. But never failed a class, and I'm proud to say that I'm doing pretty good in my classes, at least. Well, B's. Again, this semester I wasn't really striving for academic excellence. And also I crashed out halfway through the semester. I like dropped half of my classes for a myriad of reasons. That is a story for another day. Oh man. But I'm doing good. I just wanted to talk about this little story because I thought it was kind of funny, and hope you guys are doing well with your finals. I'm sure most of you are probably done at this point, to be honest. Like, if you're still taking finals, that's just kind of a you problem, because like, catch up, man. But yeah, that's it. You should watch my other videos though. I got a video on how I almost died. That's very relevant to today's story, And then I've got another video that I made about a McRib. Somebody donated to that. Somebody donated me $5 for a McRib. They were anonymous though, so I'll never know who they were. Anyway, bye. Bye.